This is waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer funds used by political prosecutors to jail their opponents, not because they broke the law and they have a good faith reason to believe they broke the law, but because they're running for the wrong office against the wrong politician, their friend and ally Joe Biden. And in the case of the Justice Department, many of their jobs depend on Joe Biden continuing to be in office. So I talked earlier about the lawlessness and how the various Justice Department and federal agencies, so the FBI, Secret Service, have protected and enabled Biden and other partisan ideological corruption, while these same agencies abuse the rule of law to target people like President Trump and other innocents. And we see this up in New York City specifically, a local version of it, where Soros supported prosecutor Alvin Bragg, and left-wing extremist, has abused his office in the rule of law to engage in an unprecedented effort to try to jail Trump over I guess it was a confidentiality agreement with someone who accused him of having a fling with him. And so they're trying to jail him for that. It's just, I mean, to describe it is to condemn it, isn't it? So we haven't been sitting silently by while this abuse continues. We've been filing Freedom of Information Act requests, trying to get information about what's going on up there with Alvin Bragg. And we did get some interesting information I want to share with you. The House Judiciary Committee, following Judicial Watch's lead, dare I say it, was demanding information from Bragg's office, wanting to talk to former prosecutor who had worked for him, I think in a volunteer capacity, was an anti-Trumper, and was engaged in pushing Bragg to indict Trump. And so there was a big legal fight. And Bragg was using an outside law firm, and we wanted to know how much money was being spent on this effort to obstruct congressional oversight over Biden's evident abuse of Donald Trump and other innocents up there in New York. And we received the engagement letter showing how the New York County District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, paid $900 per hour for partners and $500 an hour for associates at Gibson, Dunn Crutcher. It's a big law firm. And it was for the purposes of suing Jim Jordan in an effort to shut down, as I said, the House Judiciary Committee's oversight investigation into Bragg's unprecedented indictment of former President Trump. Judicial Watch obtained the agreement as a result of a request that we engaged Freedom of Information law, not FOIA, but FOIL under New York law. And we just filed a request. And we got I think we got part of the engagement letter, but they kept out the numbers. And we filed an appeal, and they gave us the fuller version of the engagement letter as a result. The letter welcomes the Manhattan District Attorney's Office as a client and says that you are retaining us to provide legal services to the DA in connection with a congressional investigation, potential litigation, and related matters regarding the DA's investigation of Donald Trump. Initially redacted, as I said in its first production, the professional fees section states, for this matter, we have agreed on the following hourly rates for our attorneys, $900 per hour for partners and $500 per hour for associates. These rates will remain the same for the life of the matter. So the House Judiciary Committee had sent a letter back in March relating to what it called the unprecedented abuse of prosecutorial authority, the indictment of former President of the United States and current declared candidate for that office. So election interference by Bragg. And this is what the letter said. The New York County District Attorney's Office has been investigating President Trump since at least 2018, looking for some legal theory on which to bring charges. The facts regarding the impending indictment have been known for years. Michael Cohen, President Trump's disgraced former lawyer, pled guilty over 4 years ago to charges based on the same facts at issue in the impending indictment. By July 2019, however, federal prosecutors determined no additional people would be charged alongside Cohen. Now, in the words of one legal scholar, you are attempting to shoehorn the same case with the identical facts into a new prosecution resurrecting a so-called zombie case against President Trump. Even the Washington Post quoted legal experts as calling your actions unusual because prosecutors have repeatedly examined long-established details but decided not to pursue charges, including this Justice Department, by the way. In addition to the novel and untested legal theory, your star witness for this prosecution has a serious credibility problem, a problem that you have reportedly recognized. The case relies heavily on the testimony of Michael Cohen, a convicted perjurer with a demonstrable prejudice against President Trump. Cohen pled guilty to lying to Congress in 2019, when he testified before Democrats on the House Oversight Committee to aid their fruitless investigation into Trump. Cohen lied again 6 times. Cohen has been vocal about his deeply personal animus towards Trump. Under these circumstances, there is no scenario in which Cohen could fairly be considered an unbiased and credible witness. And then, of course, on April 4th, his response to that letter was to indict Trump. And then they issued a subpoena compelling the testimony, the Judiciary Committee did, of former New York County Special Assistant Attorney Mark Pomerantz, who resigned from the office of the previous year because Bragg was reluctant to pursue charges against Trump. The committee in March had written Pomerantz a letter stating that his efforts to shame Bragg have worked, as he is reportedly resurrecting a so-called zombie case against Trump. So what did they do with this money they spent on the Gibson, Dunn and Crutcher law firm? April 11th, Bragg filed a lawsuit against Jordan to block his alleged, quote, interference and obstruction of the investigation. And on April 19th, the federal court up there issued a decision denying Bragg's requested temporary restraining order, and the committee subsequently issued a statement showing that they're going to find, they have the right to get this information, including questioning Pomerantz, who I don't remember if he testified or not. I think he may have testified and took the fifth. Well, anyway, you can look it up. I guess I should have figured that out before I talked about it. Bragg's unjustified malicious prosecution is not only corrupt, but it's also a waste of taxpayer funds as he tries to thwart a legitimate House investigation into his attempt to interfere in the 2024 election. Rather than spending $900 per hour on lawyers to defend his abuse of office and political jihad against Trump, Bragg should focus on taking dangerous criminals off the streets of New York. As you know, being a left-wing prosecutor, they don't like to put real criminals in jail. So there's a lot of money being spent to abuse Trump, taxpayer money. So it's not only, as I say, an abuse of office, but an abuse of power. And similarly, there was just some new numbers put out today publicly by Jack Smith's investigation, the special counsel who's harassing Trump with another unprecedented indictment over this sham records and documents dispute that he and the Biden gang manufactured to try to jail Trump. They spent $5 million plus, I think $5.5 million on this investigation alone in the last 4 months since he was impaneled, I think, or maybe just since the last the first quarter of the year. Anyway, it's as much as I think the special counsel for Biden spent a fraction of that. He's looking at Biden's records, and you know where that's going to go. The point being, there's a lot of money being spent, and the government spends money, right? And they don't do it. They don't do things on the cheap, even though they probably should. So I understand that's the cost of doing business if they're doing legitimate investigations. But these aren't legitimate investigations. This is waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer funds used by political prosecutors to jail their opponents, not because they broke the law and they have a good faith reason to believe they broke the law, but because they're running for the wrong office against the wrong politician, their friend and ally Joe Biden. And in the case of the Justice Department, many of their jobs depend on Joe Biden continuing to be in office. So this corruption against Trump is costing you money, and it ain't stopping. And Judicial Watch, once again, shows up, stands in the gap, exposes the truth, gets the detail out, and exposes the waste up in New York with the abuse of Trump. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.